the stones on which she climbed. I can always come here and find the DNA ghost of my grandmother's bones. And maybe these are the rock walls that my dad and uncle climbed before times changed and they left it all behind. Maybe now I can find her here. Maybe now I can find myself. Maybe this is home for me and no one else. Maybe history has run its course. Maybe this is the end of a family line. Maybe this land has better use than to be mine. Maybe generations will honor my past as I find the bones of my family and my grandmother at last. Maybe this is a tree that my father climbed. Maybe this is the water that my uncle drank. Maybe this could have been my home before all of my dreams sank away. Back into the ocean, back into the woods, back into where we came from, buried for good. Isn't it funny how the past comes alive if we only listen and open our eyes? Isn't it a lot to carry on when our family is dead and gone? Isn't it a question of who we've become when all that's left are stone walls and shrubs? Doesn't it make more sense when the shrubs aren't so dense? And we come back into home? If we know where to go, where the plants don't grow, that's when we finally come home. Where my grandmother slept, where my grandmother grew, where plows plowed cornfields and cows mooed. This is the land. This is the land that my family walked. My uncles and father and grandmother too. This is where she grew. This is the farm where I come from. Overgrown now, secrets hidden, farm machinery planted in the soil now. Just ghosts. Just fields. Just trees and shrubs. And an energy that I can feel. An energy so magnetic in my heart. I found this trail back in April. After many times coming here, I followed intuition. I went this way, and I kept going. And down this way, I found the family's farm dump. I found the headlight from a Ford from 1935 that my grandmother would have been 17, That might have been in her car. She might have driven it or ridden in it. I found bottles from the dairy farm somewhere here. Somewhere her house was here. Somewhere my grandmother slept in a bed here. Somewhere the highway wasn't going by those shrubs. Somewhere my grandmother lived here. My dad wouldn't be born unless my grandmother lived here. I wouldn't be born unless my grandmother lived here. Was that tree here? It seems like a stance to my family. This field, wide open, and a tree. Over on the other side, there's stone walls. There's stone walls way up above that forest. And stone walls from where I came from. And there's stone walls down there. This is where my grandmother lived. I wouldn't be here if my grandmother didn't live right here. This is where my family is from here and lived here. Energy, it's kind of like a tightness in my chest, but not a scary one. More like anticipation, excitement. How can I connect? That feeling of like discovery. Like, how many people do I know that walked on this little spot of land? Did my dad climb that tree? Did my grandmother play on that stone? My uncle told stories of playing on the tractor here. And I think I found that tractor back in April, before all this lush green was here. Springtime's a magic land here. It's like I can feel part of me vibrating in this different way of being more alive, knowing with all of my heart that this is where I come from. This goes back before me, before my dad. Kind of like the spots in Pennsylvania. My grandmother grew up next to the railroad tracks over the bridges of the Susquehanna River. It's like that. I have history now. I have ties to this land. This land. My feet walking on this land couldn't be possible without my father's mother's feet walking on this land. This is my history. I can't imagine how Native tribes feel all over the country thinking about their land. This was their land before my grandmother's. I know that. And I show gratitude every single day. I try to connect in any way that I can to land and to people and make sure that I'm kind and good to the planet so that at least this land can keep on. In the springtime, there's a little trickle of a river right here. This land is like a filter. This land is like a filter. All the water comes down this way, filtering through the rocks. Rainwater, so people can drink it. This path may have been their driveway. This path, look at these trees. There's a stone wall on both sides. Half of it's buried here, and the other half remains. And on the other side of the stone wall is the road I walked down. And there's another trail. And there's another stone wall. this land. Right here. Right here. Right here. My grandmother might have stood right here, her heart beating in her chest and her blood flowing through her veins after a day on the farm with her sisters and her brothers, and her father who drove teams of horses for the circus. This is my family. I'm part of this land now. There's a piece of me that comes from here. And there's a piece of here that's within my DNA now. I feel so connected and so lucky that this exists.